Indiana Pacers offered to trade Roy Hibbert and Chris Copeland to the Suns in exchange for Goran Dragic. Dragic told the website that Indiana would also send money Phoenix's way, but they did not accept the offer. So, Stephen A., what exactly is Roy Hibbert worth nowadays?
Well, let me say this. Based on what we saw last year, there's no way in hell he's worth $14.8 million, which is what he's getting paid for this upcoming season. Has a player option after next year, after this upcoming season, that's going to pay him about $15.5 million in the final year of his deal. Roy Hibbert is 7'2". Roy Hibbert can play some defense. He can be incredibly formidable. Who knows what on earth happened to him in the latter part of last year, and particularly the playoffs. It was an epic collapse. We haven't seen anything like that in quite some time. I'm talking about a 7'2" dude who gets the ball 5 feet away from the basket and went scoreless on 4 different postseason occurrences.
Yep.
That is unconscionable. I don't want to knock Roy because I believe in him as a defensive player. Offensively, he's considerably raw. If you're the Phoenix Suns, you've got cap space, so plausibly you could do something because even though Roy's at 14.8 and Chris Copeland's at 3.1, Goran Dragic's at 7.5, there would be close to about an $11 million discrepancy, but Phoenix could afford it, and it would make them formidable because you'd have a legitimate big man to clog up the middle, and you could do some things, some of the other parts that they have, especially when, you've got issues involving Eric Bledsoe. But in the end, I just don't know what's going to happen right now. Anything's possible with the Indiana Pacers. Roy Hibbert, for the right team, could be worth a lot with the right coaching, the right pieces around him, because a legitimate argument could be made that the system Indiana has in place doesn't cater to his best assets in terms of the personnel around him. If he were playing with the Spurs, what could they do when you got Popovich coaching and you've got Tim Duncan as a power forward to play alongside? If he were playing in Miami and Chris Bosh could be your power forward or whatever the case, how formidable would he be? If he were playing in New York with Melo, being able to be put at the 3 with an Amari being at your 4, because Amari, you're not looking to him for defense but offense, all right? And you can sandwich a Roy Hibbert with 2 offensive-minded guys where your lone responsibility is defense. Don't even look for the ball. When you score, it's going to be by accident. All of a sudden, he's worth something more to teams like that. But if you're a team like Indiana that needs an offensive contribution from him, especially now with Paul George out and Lance Stevenson gone, then I think that his skill set has shown you that he's not worth nearly the money he's getting paid.
Okay, if you're Phoenix, would you have done that reported deal? It's
No.
from Dragic. You wouldn't have done it. Straight up for, it'd be for Chris Copeland and for Roy.
The way they play ball in the West, no.
No.
No, because he can't get up and down the floor the way you need him to, so he'd be rendered a non-factor.
For me, that would have been a laughable deal. If I'm Phoenix, I wouldn't have even thought 2 seconds about that deal. I would not have done it. So, to me, what did you say Roy makes now?
14.8.
14.8. So almost $15 million. Given that salary, what is he worth on the open market? I say 0. And I like Roy personally a lot. But I say 0 on the open market. Who would want to pay that for what you're going to get back? What did we just see from Roy? Look, he is a nice young man, but he might be a little too nice. He is a very smart young man, but he might be a little too smart for his own good because he sort of outthinks himself. He thinks too much. But I look at a 7'2", 2-time All-Star in Roy Hibbert, and I look at over the last 2 years, he's averaged about 11 3 points, 7.5 boards, not enough for that kind of size, as we often talk about. 2.4 blocks a game, nothing to sneeze at. 2 years ago, he was second in the league, Dewey Baca, in block shots. Nothing to sneeze at. But still, do you want him on your basketball team? I'm not sure if I do. I'm not sure.
I think in the game of basketball, a lot is contingent upon personnel surrounding you. Again, on certain teams, I do think that he's very, very valuable.
At $15 million?
Well, what I mean by that, well, in today's market, NBA economy, I'm sorry, there's a whole bunch of people that's getting paid money they shouldn't be getting paid. But what I'm saying to you is that when I look at, if you are a team devoid of any kind of defensive presence, and you are particularly within the Eastern Conference, then you need a Roy Hibbert if you have the offensive pieces around you, because then he can focus on just defense. Offensively, he's raw. I don't think he's worth $5 offensively. But defensively, I do believe he has the potential to be worth those millions, because at 7'2", and a guy who's capable of blocking shots, it was an aberration what we saw last year. It's not the norm. He's no Serge Ibaka, because Serge Ibaka has the uncanny ability to block shots, but also run the floor, be agile, be athletic, have a motor. That's not Roy Hibbert. But in the Eastern Conference, if you've got offensive pieces around him, and he doesn't have to focus on anything but defense, I think that Roy Hibbert is worth a lot.
Would you want his mindset in your locker room? Because there were reports that he was quoted a couple times as pointing fingers at some of his other teammates.
Well, he was pointing fingers at guys because he was holding them accountable for not throwing the ball to him, for being selfish or whatever. He's not a selfish guy. Roy Hibbert's a good guy. He's not selfish. He's somebody that works hard. He's somebody that wants to do things right. And when you got guys that are coming across being about themselves and not about the team, or paying too much attention to their stats and not the bottom line, which is wins and losses, Roy Hibbert is the kind of guy that felt the need to call you out. I have no problem with it. The problem was, once he did it, then he went out and played like
he didn't back it up.
It was horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And that's the problem.
Okay, and just for those who might have let this slip through the cracks, Goran Dragic made third-team All-NBA last year.
He can ball.
He was voted the most improved NBA player last year. He averaged 20 a game and 6 assists.
Yeah, but it's not. But any consideration that the Phoenix Suns are given towards moving him, and I'm not saying I know that for sure because I haven't called them about it, but you have to understand that Goran's going to be looking for his payday, because next year is the last year of his deal. Just like you had Eric Bledsoe right now looking for his deal. And if Eric Bledsoe is in a position to ask for max dollars anywhere in the range of 4 years to $62, $63 million, to a 5-year deal around $80 million, if he's even in a position to ask for something like that, what is Goran Dragic going to be asking for in light of the kind of year he's had and he's coming off of?
Now, would I like to see Goran Dragic for the Pacers' sake, to see him as yeah, I would. He'd be just what the doctor ordered.
Well, it would have been. He would have been
with
what the
Paul
doctor
George,
ordered with a healthy squad.
I know. Yeah.
Not now. Don't matter now.